Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Chris Jones. I'm a global audience development specialist here at Google, and this is Erwann.
Hi.
And what we're going to talk today about is how to boost your IAP and actually monetize the non-spenders within your apps. So just a quick round of hands. How many of you guys are app developers and game developers? Oh, perfect. Okay, this is going to be very important to you. That's not working. There we are. So, the first thing, the next 1 billion. What am I talking about? Anyone have any guesses? Anyone? Come on, audience interaction, people. It's late in the day. We want to kind of build up a bit of energy. No? Okay. So, the next 1 billion I'm talking about is the next 1 billion gamers, or next 1 billion users in the mobile space. This is a huge opportunity, and I don't want to kind of downplay it. They're going to add on to the 2 billion users that we have now, but they're going to be different. And that's the thing that we need to take in mind, that when you're trying to create strategies to monetize and actually gain a business from these next 1 billion users and the current 2 billion, you need to think about how you approach that. Each one are different. They're different segmentations, all that kind of thing. So at Google, we spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, how do we build products? How do we build products for you, and how do we build products for those next 1 billion? And for example, this led to initiatives such as Android One. Some of you guys may have heard of it. It's basically a range of affordable smartphones that your apps will work on, that we're rolling out in India, and we're expanding to other markets such as Asia Pacific. But anyway, this is what we're going to kind of focus on. Why and how do you approach different users in two different ways? So, how do you make money out of your apps? I mean, you're all building these fantastic apps, these fantastic games, and I'm gonna guess, hands up who uses IAP? Yep. How many of you guys actually monetize? Oh, okay. Kinda, there's a... Ish. There you go.
It depends.
So, IAP is a fantastic performer. We all know this. For example, King with Candy Crush, they had their Q2 piece and they put out about 500 million in in-app purchases they raised. Rovio, Angry Birds, what was it? 158 million in 2014 just in in-app. Supercell, yay for Supercell. We saw them yesterday. They reported that some of their whales spend over 5K every year. So like one person spent 5K in their app. That's a huge amount. And it all sounds great, but we all know the trope, the cliche, which is that the 95% of your revenue comes from that 5% who actually purchase in IAP. So it's a good solution, and you really want to keep that, but is that the business model you want to continue with? Is that the one where you're going to get the most bang for your buck? You're going to get the most out of your product that you put a lot of hard work into, or your company's put a lot of hard work into building? So, if you are just using IAP, this is the figure that you're missing out on. 62 billion, with a B, dollars. Now that's what Vision Mobile, they're a kind of survey company, they said that in-app advertising, the market itself, by 2017 will be worth 62 billion. So if you have a choice. Do you want to do in-app purchase, or do you want to do in-app ads monetization? But that's not really a fun way of looking at things. We're a developer. We're trying to kind of get everything. We want to give our users the best user experience. We want to build these fantastic games. But that's a large number that you don't want to you don't want to miss out on. So what I really want to talk to you, and what this kind of presentation is about, is, okay, in-app ads and IAP, how can they merge together? So here, this is the revenue index that we did. App Annie actually did it for us. And they showed that both App Store revenue and in-app ads grew 70% in 2013 to 2014. And here you can see IAP was basically, took up about 0.25%, 0.25 index. Ads 0.5, 0.05, but then actually this is where we want to talk about this hybrid model. Using a combination of ads and IAP, the index was at 0.5. And that's seriously something that you can take away. Something that you can think about how to grow your business with these other developers that are using this hybridation model. It's a simple solution when you think about it. It's quite trivial, but then you've got to think about how you're going to segment your users, how are you going to know. Because what you really want to do then is, which of the users are going to spend on IAP? Okay, I just want to show them IAP. Oh, which of the users are click on ads? I just want to show them ads. But then you've got to think, okay, so you've got to work in the back end, you've got to fix all that around. But then trying to identify that 95% who won't buy IAP, that can get difficult. So obviously, hands up who knows what that icon is? Yeah, okay. Google Analytics. You plug that into your app and it will start giving you this churn of data. And it's key to understanding your users, you understanding what they've done, who they are. And obviously it's integrated with AdMob and other Google products such as the developer console and stuff like that. And it's fully featured. It's a fully featured analytical tool for your apps. And once you integrate GA, then you've got this amazing way of data segmenting your data. So you have all these users. So as you can see here, it's the kind of pulling them in, and then what you want to do is segment them out, so split them. So for example, I want to reach all the guys who have reached level 5. Okay, so they've reached level 5, they're a good daily active user, they're loyal. Okay, we probably want to show them an IAP that will boost. People who are just doing an average of 3 minutes per session, probably casual. Do you really want to offer them something? Well, maybe you want to offer them a way of boosting. Maybe they're finding it too hard, or actually maybe they're just too casual. And then you want guys who have actually spent on IAP. Now the difference and the hard part of this is once you plug in analytics, it's only taking into account as soon as you plug it in and start analyzing your users. So you have to use your own data, you have to churn it around, you have to try and build that out. And much like these lovely stacks of servers, it gets complicated. Your developer is pulling his hair out, you're trying to integrate everything, you're trying to create the events. That can become difficult when you're segmenting. But we have a new feature to help you out, of course. We're Google, we're AdMob, we like helping you. So we have this new one called IAP Ads. It's in beta at the moment. And what it does... Oh, no. There we are. IAP Ads helps promote your IAP items. So basically, what you can do is show users who we know that have spent on IAP ads. They're house ads. They're your own ads within the product. And the best part about that is it uses the AdMob brain. We use machine learning that we have, data that we have access to say, this user here, A, in the red, okay, he's bought IAP previously. So we're going to want to show him an IAP ad. The other users in gray, they probably haven't. So let's show them just a standard monetization ad for something else. And that's the great thing about this. This feature frees up your valuable impressions, so then you can have this hybrid model showing IAP to people who will purchase, and then showing standard kind of banner ads, interstitials, to those guys who aren't going to purchase but probably may click and may go through into another transaction. So that's the really good thing about this. It's a new revenue stream. You're still getting the best user experience for your users. You're still getting the best IAP purchases, but then you're also freeing these impressions and using those impressions and getting monetization revenue from it as well. And you're all looking at me kind of questioning, going, probably not right, probably you've all heard these things before. There is this amazing Australian 2-man developer group called Dubsoft Studios, and they made this fantastic game called Gung Fu Stickman 2. I love it, I'm horribly addicted to it, but they were a bit skeptical with us, and they like, okay, should I put monetization in with my IAP? But we talked to them, they did, and here you can see some of the fantastic results they got. They managed to grow their revenue 6x in 2 months. 6x in 2 months. And their ARPU, for the average revenue per user, went up 20%. That's huge if you think about the amount of daily active users that you guys have. Like, basically take whatever your largest app is, plug those figures in, and that could be you. You could be making that. And that's where it kind of gets quite interesting. Now I'm going to hand over to Erwann. Erwann's going to talk about all the different features of AdMob.
There you go. Hi guys, so my name is Erwann. I'm based in Dublin with Chris, and I'm a business development manager on the French markets. I'm French myself, so I'm sorry for my accent. I promise I will do the best. We talk rapidly of AdMob, but an AdMob is known to be like a really great network, right? But it's actually much more than that. So the past years we developed great features. One of them is analytics, right? We integrated analytics with AdMob just to make sure you know your users and you leverage on them. Another thing as well is mediation. We want you to work and we encourage you to work with different networks if you are a big developer. Why limit yourself to one network when you can work with different networks and maximize your profits? Another thing as well is in-app purchase. We want to simplify the whole process. So we want to make sure as well you use and you manage your in-app purchase revenue through the platform AdMob. I think we want to simplify the whole process by managing everything through one platform, which is an open platform that you can work with competitors as well. So now, rapidly, I'm going to deep dive into mediation. So AdMob mediation is an ad yield optimization. For instance, if you only work with one network, if you are silly me. All right, here you go. So for instance, I was saying, it's we encourage the big developers to use AdMob mediation. Why? We want to make sure you get the best CPM at a given time per impression. If you, for instance, would be working with only the blue network, yes, in for instance May, June, and July, you will get the best CPM. But what about the other months? What about January and February, for instance? It would be the lowest CPM on the market. So what the mediation does is automatically it's gonna give you the best CPM for your impression. And because AdMob is an open platform, there is no fee, of course. We want to make sure you just maximize your profit. We take care of I would say the technology behind it, and you grow your app and your revenue with AdMob. Next, about the mediation. So in 2015, AdMob actually mediates 40 networks. Last year, only 25, right? So we are just expanding, I would say, the number of networks we are working with. Next year, again, almost every month, we're going to add another network. Why? Because we want to be a global platform as well. We understand that some of the networks are really good in the US and some of them really bad in China. So we want to make sure if you use AdMob, you can just work with the best network. Doesn't matter if it's in China or in the US or in Africa, for instance, right? So we're going to add more and more networks in the coming years as well. The thing at the moment with mediation and the downside of mediation is you need to add every time you want to use another network, you need to add the SDK, so you need to update your application, which is not the best in terms of user experience. That's why we listen to you guys and we develop the past month and the past year an SDK-less solution. So down the line, actually from now on, the only SDK you need to implement in your app is AdMob. And then in the back end of AdMob, you can of course integrate any network you want. Okay? So it's much better in terms of user experience. I mean, for instance, every morning on my Android or iPhone, I can see all the apps that have been updated, and it's kind of drain as well my battery. So we want to avoid this situation in the coming month. There is this kind of idea in the market that sometimes mediation is only for classic display banners. Of course, mediation is great for simple banners, video, for instance, the TrueView, interstitial, the classic interstitial, but what's coming soon with AdMob is like, we don't want you to use another platform. We want to simplify the process. So we want actually you to use the mediation for rewarded, display or rewarded video ads as well. So again, we want to make sure you focus on growing the base of users, launching great games, and AdMob, take care of the technology behind it and simplify, the whole chain. I'm just going to deep dive really quickly into the formats. Obviously, different formats perform differently. We have the classic banners, the classic, video formats, TrueView, for instance, the interstitial, and now the kind of, trendy formats, the native formats. One thing, please try almost everything, right? Don't base the decision you're gonna make on assumption because you heard someone at Slush that native was not working really well, or for instance a competitor tried for 2 weeks and it didn't perform. Please try everything and base your action on tangible data and actionable data, right? Yeah, just to show you two really quick great examples of native. Why native is great? Native is great on the web and on the apps as well. Why? Because it's really well integrated. For instance, on the left, an example of Atari, and then on the right, Zepto Labs. I mean, you can obviously spot the ads in the middle or at the bottom. The idea is that we are not trying to hide the fact that it's an ad. It has to be clear in the native that we show the users an ad and not a feature of your own app, but it's really well integrated, and it's not a classic pop-up in the middle of two parties, for instance. Okay, so again, we want to get we want to give you and you, your users, a better user experience. One of the features as well in AdMob is reservation. If you are lucky enough, and I hope you are, to have direct campaigns, usually, and it's the same on the web or on the apps, most of the time the CPM is actually higher than a network, right? So we give you the opportunity, in a classic, I would say, ad server, to book those direct campaigns with a higher priority directly in AdMob, right? So for instance, you book 2 million for Supercell, for instance, right? Then once the 2 millions have been delivered, then AdMob or any other networks takes over, so you maximize your profits. And what's great about reservation as well is if you have a network, you can of course cross promote your application between your network. So really 3 takeaways, and I'm going to be around if you want to talk and deep dive into some of the features, but 3 big takeaways here. It's know your users. It's really important that you leverage on your own exclusive data to make smarter business monetization decision down the line. Secondly, treat them differently. For instance, let's take a concrete example. Let's take Finnair, for instance. I'm sure Finnair today treats someone differently that flies to New York and book a first class ticket costing 2,000 euros compared to someone like me that's going to go to New York with Finnair for 400 euros. It's exactly the same concept. You treat your users differently based on how much they are willing to invest, I would say, in your application. And the third part is maximize yield. Again, AdMob and Google and many products of Google, they are I would say open to the competition. We want to make sure you just maximize your profit and you grow with AdMob and with Google your user base and you grow your business. So please give it a try to the formats, maximize your profits by using AdMob mediation and trying different networks, and it works great. Anyway, there is no commitment, there is no fee, or it doesn't work, then you just remove the tax, and that's how it works. Thank you very much.